in between so that they don't have to sit to the end and then be worried that they don't get on. Well, New Westminster has an official reclamador. And in Costa Rica, where I grew up, the reclamadors were always the royalty of every party. And they would do poetry. Sometimes they would tell jokes. Sometimes they would sing or do stories. Often they would do poetry. So when Tony joined us, because he's been a wonderful supporter of world poetry, we thought it would be really nice to have an official reclamador. And so Tony is also very supportive of all the communities and groups and literary associations and everything in New Westminster. The theater, many, many other things. He's just, most times he's at the mayor's, the community meeting every month. What's that called? Where you go? Community council or something like that at the mayor's hall. So he's often there, and I just wanted to say thank you, Tony, for all you've done. Appreciate it, and here is New Westminster's official reclamador.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This evening, I am going to read two short poems by Robert Frost, who has long been recognized as one of America's greatest poets. Besides occupying a central and commanding position in American letters, Robert Frost is one of the few poets whose work is widely read. My heartfelt thanks go to our poet laureate, who introduced me to the poetry of Robert Frost. Thank you, Candace James. The first short poem by Robert Frost is The Objection to Being Stepped On. It's humorous, and I chose humorous short poems because I think it is so important to have something to glom onto a poet. And when you read his work, oh, you can't put the book down. The objection of being stepped on. At the end of the row, I stepped on the toe of an unemployed hoe. It rose in offense and struck me a blow in the seat of my sense. It wasn't to blame, but I called it a name. And I must say it dealt me a blow that I felt like malice prepense. You may call me a fool, but was there a rule that the weapon should be turned into a tool? And what do we see? The first tool I stepped on turned into a weapon. He has humor in this one as well. He called quandary. Never have I been sad or glad that there was such a thing as bad. There had to be, I understood, for there to have been any good. It was by having been contrasted that good and bad so long had lasted. That's why discrimination reigns. That's why we need a lot of brains, if only, to discriminate. Twixt what to love and what to hate, to quote the oracle of Delphi, love thou thy neighbor as thyself, aye, and hate him as thyself thou hatest. There quandary is at its greatest. We learned from the forbidden fruit, for brains there is no substitute. unless it's sweetbreads. You suggest with innuendo I detest. You drive me to confess in ink. Once I was fool enough to think that brains and sweetbreads were the same. Till I was caught and put to shame, first by a butcher, then a cook, then by a scientific book. But 'twas by making sweetbread stew I passed with such a high IQ. Thank you again, Kendra, and for the book.